thank you again, Ron, for giving us the time. So my name is Pauline. I work for Abatable, and I look at my role is forgot my role, policy and strategy lead. So I do two things. I help corporates and companies, organizations set up their offsetting strategy. And I also look very much at policy, national, international policy, which really affects carbon markets, but also how companies can go about setting their strategy. So I'm just going to go very quickly through some slides just to set the scene, and then I'm going to give you a demo of what our platform looks like. So just very quickly, what is a carbon credit? So a carbon credit is a tradable certificate or unit. So it's something that's immaterial. And it's generated by a project developer. And this is important because I'll be mentioning that a little bit. And it's then sold to other market players, such as companies, such as cities, and others. And in order for a claim to be made, a credit doesn't need to be just bought. It needs to be retired. So it needs to be taken out of circulation effectively. And it's important to note that one carbon credit represents 1 unit, 1 ton of either reduction or removal. So reduction means that you're avoiding emissions. So for example, you're protecting an existing forest, and the other one would be a removal, which would be growing a new forest, for example. So just some very quick background for carbon credits. A little bit about Abatable. We're a carbon intelligence and procurement platform. So what we do is that we help companies and cities, organizations find the right carbon credits via one of the tools, 2 tools, and one I'll be showing you soon. And one of them is our marketplace, which I'll give you a demo of. And then we also have a procurement as a service tool. So we basically automate RFPs, which is a way to gather credits. And we do this by, I just want to check that I'm actually showing my screen because I have a second screen on with my background, which is just trees. Are you seeing my slides?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Sorry for the confusion. So we have access to about 1,000 project developers, so the people who are implementing the projects on the ground. And what we do is that we also assess the quality of the projects. And this is something that I'm going to show you in a second, because not all projects out there are equal. There's lots of variations in quality of the projects, and I'll explain to you what we look at when we mean at that. I'm going to skip this because I think Michael gave a great overview, but I just wanted to talk to you very quickly about different approaches we're seeing companies take when it comes to carbon credits. So we're seeing a lot of companies go for the ton for ton. What this means, this is effectively a carbon neutral claim. So they are purchasing, if they're scope 1 and 2 and 3, let's say it's 1,000 tons, they're purchasing 1,000 tons of carbon credits to cover those emissions. We're seeing a move away from this because the incentives are not there to actually support projects that would be more expensive, because you're optimizing for volume, for how many credits you're buying. We're also seeing $1 per ton. So this is very much an approach that software companies and large companies are taking, which is informed by an internal price of carbon. So they will set an internal price of carbon. So if they have, again, 1,000 tons of emissions at $10, they will then invest that bucket of money into projects. And then they don't have the obligation of meeting a specific targets of how many tons they want to purchase. So very different approach. So they have flexibility to buy products that may be a lot more expensive. We're also seeing dollar for dollar, and effectively this is an investment approach. So we're seeing very large companies go through an investment route. So they're investing in projects very early stage. So if you take the example before of growing trees, the trees haven't even been planted yet. So they're investing in that, and they can do 2 things. So they're going to get carbon credits in return. They can either sell those credits onward, or they can retire them. And the advantage of this is that you typically get carbon credits of high quality because you can influence the quality at a lower price. And finally, we're also seeing charitable donations, which is less common, but we are seeing companies do this. And just for the sake of time, I'm going to jump right into a bit of a demo of what the Abatable platform looks like. So this is our marketplace, and our marketplace is targeted at volumes less than 10,000 tons. The reason for this is that if you're looking for more than 10,000 tons, then it may be more interesting for you to speak directly with project developers and negotiate that price and really go deep into the quality, and we can facilitate that as well. So this is our marketplace. We really vouch and review projects for their quality. So For every 10 projects that we review, about one of them makes it on the marketplace. So we currently have 10 of them. So we've reviewed many projects. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you one that I really like. And the main point here is I want to bring to life why quality matters and why it's important to look at quality when you're looking at carbon credits. So this is one of the project pages for our Rimbaraya project, which is a very popular project, very high quality, always in high demand. It's developed by an organization called Infinite Earth, which is an NGO. It's based in Indonesia. It is verified by Verra, or Verified Carbon Standard. And the ex post means that the credits were actually issued in 2018. So these were verified and issued in 2018, which is fairly recent in the world of carbon markets. It's an avoidance credit, not removal. Methodology, you can see how much you can buy it. And something that's very important to us as Abatable, and if you're looking for carbon credits, you should really pay attention to this, is how does the business model work? We're seeing an important lack of transparency as to where the money is going in carbon markets. So what we do is that we work bilaterally with project developers, meaning that this $18 that you see here goes directly to them. And on top of that, we charge a transparent fee. So you know exactly where your money is going effectively. So yeah, just about the project. So it's a forest conservation project, which has a lot of, it's protecting a lot of orangutans. So it's a really great project. I personally really like it. But quality, I want to talk to you about quality. There's a couple of things that we look at when we review a project. And I'm actually going to start by the last one. The first thing that we do is do a really in-depth analysis of who is the developer on the ground. What is their track record of developing carbon projects? How have they been doing? And who are the people, down to the individuals, the leadership team involved in these projects? And can they be trusted? Or do we think they can be trusted? At the project level, we'll then be looking for a couple of things for these 5 different factors. First, we'll look for additionality. This is I would say it's the most important one when it comes to carbon projects, because this is how this is where the risk of greenwashing comes in. Additionality basically looks at, was the carbon finance from the carbon credits actually needed for this project to happen? If the answer is no, you have a bad carbon project. If the answer is yes, you probably have one that's of higher quality. So in this case, we looked at all of the documentation and we saw that this specific piece of land was going to turn into a palm oil plantation. So it is a highly additional credit project, as you can see here. We then look at, is it actually easily measurable, and is it being measured in the right way, the emission avoidance that's happening on the ground? So is it just modeling, or is it actually sampling that's happening on the ground? And in this case, is a little bit of both. Not everything can be measured, which is why we give them a 3 out of 4. We then look at permanence. And permanence is basically, do we think that the project can carry out what it's aimed to carrying out for its entire lifetime? So these forest conservation projects tend to be 20, 30, or 40 years. So do we believe that the right incentives are in place, the right engagements are in place for this project to actually hold for that long? And we'll then look at external risks. And this can be value chain risk, these can be policy risks, this can be political risks. And this specific project scores so low because there are currently a lot of discussions in Indonesia to further regulate carbon credits, and this project is in a bit of risk. The credit that you buy from 2018 will have been issued, but there's a risk for the future of the project, unfortunately. And finally, we look at co-benefits. So this is typically SDGs. So which other SDGs is the project contributing to? And I'm just going to show you. This one is quite exceptional because it hits all 17 SDGs. So yeah, those are the things that we will look at. We will highlight some of them and finally give you a bit more information about the developer story, so who's behind the project and where in the world it is.
I wanted to ask briefly if you're able to help identify projects that are closer to home. So part of this is restoring natural environment, and we'd love to invest in our own natural environment in Louisiana as opposed to elsewhere on the globe, even though that's also important. Is that something you guys offer?
Absolutely. Yes, the way that we do that is that we would go ahead and review different methodologies that may be local to Louisiana, and then look for specific project developers and also do a quality assessment of them. and then recommend to you which ones you should be working with, and maybe the ones that you shouldn't be working with. But typically that's how we would go about. We're doing the same in Alberta at the moment, which is not a region we've worked with before, but same model effectively.
Yeah, I love that idea. There's so many opportunities for us to keep when we get to the point where we're looking at the offset market, to keep them local. Can I open that up to the rest of the group? Has anybody seen any, even New Orleans or coastal Louisiana based projects that have kind of popped up for the carbon offset market? I don't know if this is for Michael or someone in the city.
I haven't seen anything, but I remember when Chicago was starting something, and I feel like when you're talking about coastal restoration, especially like right now, what's in my head is Christmas tree recycling. Like I would imagine that there's I know we're already building landmass. I feel like there should be an opportunity there in terms of Christmas tree recycling, because it's not just Orleans Parish. There's multiple parishes that are rebuilding coastal areas using Christmas trees.
Yeah, that's a great example.
There's quickly, there's a lot of timber harvesting between Mississippi and Alabama that generates carbon credits by delaying harvest with the United States initiative.